Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Karmic Gacha system in Modern Family World. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 186, Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon, Part 2 Final. Edward POV. I walked behind the curtains as the crowd cheered for me. I waved at them with a smile on my face and sent them some flying kisses as I left. Jimmy told the crowd about the final recording session, but before that, they would take a 20-minute break. Break? I was confused when I heard it. Shouldn't it be time for my performance now? I muttered to myself. Suddenly, I heard some strident click-clack of an urgent footstep coming towards me, together with the sound of someone bickering. "You really aren't supposed to be here," Randall said with a nervous tremble in his voice. His eyes widened in shock as he saw me, but the lady in a yellow diner shirt with red lining lit up with excitement and agitation. "You? How did you know me by name?" Max Black asked as she strode forcefully towards me. I turned to her and said casually, not minding her tone in the slightest, "You didn't bring me your cupcakes?" Max is of average height with long dark brown hair she wears in waves, deep blue eyes, and pale skin. She was wearing eyeliner and dark red lipstick. However, most of my attention went straight to her bust that popped out from her slightly unzipped polyester dress. "That too. How did you know that? And why did you send Hawaii 5-0 detective to search for me, and my cupcakes?" Max asked furiously. "And tell me honestly." I had been wanting to beat up a teen pop star. I smiled and said, "I don't have the answer to that question. You can say that a being, in the higher dimension, sent the images inside my head." "Get it? Higher. What?" Max narrowed her eyes in disbelief, then, she saw my hinting eyes. Her eyes widened in realization and she relaxed instantly. "OHH. I stopped her from mentioning the subject and introduced myself. "Hi. I'm Edward." "Hi. You already know me," Max replied with a slight sarcasm. Growing up neglected and being let down by everyone around her, Max used sarcasm to prevent anyone from getting close to her. She smiled and said, "I don't believe that I shared a pot dealer with a teen pop star. I guess Kim's business is really booming nowadays." "What was that?" Randall asked as he couldn't catch what Max said. But we ignored him as we stared into each other. Max turned slightly and asked with a slight nervous stutter, "So, you heard from Kim and you decide that you need to taste some stale diner cupcakes too? Or, were you looking for the party ones? 'Cause I don't make those," she whispered, "anymore." "Ah. And here I was looking forward to that," I said with some sarcasm. She seemed taken aback by that, and smiled softly. "The cupcakes are already sold out. But, if you can wait for a while, I could make some more," she offered. I paused to think for a second then said, "I can't stay here for long. I need to fly back to California after this. How about, I get your phone number, and when I come here again, I will call you." "Wait. There's no law against exchanging numbers with a kid, right? 'Cause I can't go to jail again." Max joked and seemed a little bit hesitant. "You know, next time if I come here alone, I may be going to some parties and need an entourage." "I am in," Max replied instantly. Jimmy Fallon walked backstage and rushed towards me. "Edward, can I talk to you about something?" "Wait, who's this? Your sister?" Max chuckled and muttered to herself, "That's a possibility, given that my mom would spread her legs for anyone, and I never knew who my dad is." Jimmy was baffled but I laughed. "Max, why don't you stay and watch the rest of the filming?" Max asked, "What's this for?" "I almost dozed off when I got inside the building, so I'm guessing any late-night shows?" "You didn't recognize me? I guess I should work harder in the future." Jimmy smiled wearily and dropped his shoulder. Max smiled and teased, I don't know any of the new shows, 'cause I'm too poor to own a TV. And if I want to watch something fun, I go directly to porn websites. Underage boy there. Underage. Randall chimed in urgently while pointing at me, hoping to get Max to behave. Calm your tits, like mine is. I was in elementary school when I learned about all of that stuff. I'm sure that he already knew more than what he let others believe. I nodded in agreement and said, yeah. She's right. And also Randall, don't be a prude. So, you're going to ignore me here? Jimmy acted depressed but kept a smile on his face. I chuckled and said, right. I forgot about you. Oh ouch. He playfully clutched his heart. Max, stay and watch the show. I'm going to get on stage for the finale. We can talk after that. I turned to Max and offered. She crossed her arms together and said regretfully, I want to, 'cause you seem like a cool person, but I need to go back to the diner. Or else the Russian mafia boss won't pay me. I narrowed my eyes a little, and then remembered a little bit about the plotline of the series. It wasn't until Han, the small Korean man, took over the diner and hired Caroline too that Max's life became better. Do you really care about the diner? I asked. She grinned and said, no. I laughed and let Randall escort her to the audience seat while I talked about a few things with Jimmy. I've decided. I'm going to take a risk and do something that's different from everyone else. So you decided to take my advice. Good for you. Just don't forget about your promises. Interviews for Taylor, Coldplay, Ariana, and who else? Jimmy asked. I grinned and said, I'll send you a list. Jimmy chuckled for a bit before he said loudly, this may offend you a little bit, but I want to ask you another question about the photo of you and Taylor while on camera. He paused and then laughed. You know what? This is the first time that I actually challenged how these late night shows work. I could feel the adrenaline rushing down my veins now. I was a bit startled, then I rubbed my chin as I contemplated a decision. What are you thinking? I asked, intrigued about his ideas. General POV. As Max was seated in an empty chair behind where the Dunphys were sitting, Haley turned towards her as she recognized Randall. Hey Randy. Haley greeted. Randall. Phil greeted him excitedly. Ah. I miss this. Randall muttered to himself. For him, New Yorkers were very mean. Phil. Haley. Alex. Luke. Please talk some sense into Edward and let me come back to LA with you guys. Haley chuckled a bit and asked teasingly, why isn't he letting you go back home? Just, he gave me a lot of work to do here. I don't think I can go back until a month later. Randall complained. Randall was tasked to search for new housing for Edward and the staff members, and also a new office space for Edward's company expansion in the East Coast. He saw that you were overpowered by a skinny white girl. I guess he has no confidence in letting you follow him around as protection. Max added mockingly. Haley saw Max's face, and then, her eyes went to her boobs. She was shocked internally and asked in disbelief, you are? I'm Max. Edward wants my cupcakes. Max answered ambiguously to tease Haley as she noticed the girl's jealousy towards her. Haley's commentary. So? I looked away for 1 second, and he hooked up with another big-breast brunette with an attitude? Haley joked but filled with a sense of wariness. Commentary ends. The staff members were passing around a white card during the break. The male staff member asked, have you guys written a keyword yet? No? Randall asked in confusion. Write down a keyword in this, then, put it in the box up front. He said to Max and Randall. I don't have a pen. Randall muttered, but the staff member had already gone away. Max turned to Randall and said, here. I got an extra pen. Randall was excited, but then his smile froze as Max reached into her cleavage and pulled out a long pencil. Phil, do you have a pen? He asked urgently. I have. Do you want to borrow it? Phil replied, making Randall breathe in relief. Max cackled seeing Randall's reaction and asked, "Are you a virgin?" "What? No. I have a girlfriend. But we Asians are more conservative and we are uncomfortable with explosive sensualities. You see, in Asian culture." Randall retorted, but Max dozed off as she listened to it. "What? You talk too long, I become sleepy," Max joked afterward. The staff members became busy for a while as they needed to change the audience seating positions for the reshoot. They had to add a few more rows of audiences to get genuine reaction laugh tracks from them. The interview started again, and it became smoother this time. It was a bit boring for those who had just watched it before, and unfortunate for the new audiences as Edward's impression game wouldn't be recorded for a second time. Jimmy dropped his jaw before he held his head and screamed, "Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. Yo, you should really consider taking acting jobs. It'll be a waste for you not to." Edward chuckled a bit and said, "I won't limit myself to just singing, so maybe one day though. But, rather than a Sith Lord, we actually preferred you in some romance genre, maybe a story of Romeo and Juliet?" Jimmy said. Then he took out a huge poster made from Edward's and Taylor's picture snapped during the gala. The way Edward's gazing into Taylor's eyes, her light blush, his charming smile, were all captured in that one picture. After the gala, the picture has gone viral and was published in a few magazines, hyping up Taylor and Edward's celebrity relationship. None of the fans actually knew that they didn't meet each other for a while after the gala, and the relationship between them had become stalled. Still, both of them didn't claim that to the work, and still made it seem like there was something between them. As the crowd widened their eyes and exclaimed in excitement, Edward covered his face shyly and said, "I knew this will come out." Jimmy laughed out loud and teased Edward about the situation for a while. Then, Edward shared an anecdote where he was forced to follow Versace around, and how awkward it was for him being there. "All right, ladies and gentlemen. Edward will play a song-writing game with the keyword he collected from the studio audience when we come back," Jimmy announced as the scene cuts in for a commercial break slot. Phil, Alex, Luke, Haley and the fans who knew about Edward's song beforehand were excited about the next session. "Thanks, Edward," Jimmy said after the filming sign went off. "Are you sure you can do this? You don't actually have to rush it. We can cut out the part where you're brainstorming for the song. If you really can't dash." Seeing Jimmy's worried face, Edward laughed and said, "If I can't, then I'll just pick another keyword to try on." "Calm down. I got this." Jimmy sighed in relief and then called Megan Fox back on stage to watch the performance sitting beside him on stage. "Oh. I thought you had left," Edward said to Megan cheerily. The actress smiled and said casually, "I was leaving. Then, I saw you guys were having fun and decided to stay and watch." "Jimmy, you really aren't being fair. You conducted my interviews so callously." She chuckled and softly placed her hand on Edward's bicep before giving it a soft squeeze. Jimmy was taken aback from the accusation. He swallowed his retort and kept it inside his heart. Being a top actress, she really didn't want to come here today, but it was necessary as part of her movie contract to promote Jennifer's body. She only spoke about the film, and nothing about her personal life, making her interview quite boring. Maybe Jimmy felt a bit intimidated by your gorgeousness, so he couldn't do his best before this, Edward said pseudo-flirtingly and at the same time giving Jimmy a chance to breathe. "Oh. You're sweet." Megan chuckled softly and pinched Edward's face lightly. Edward smiled and added, "Your new movie is rated R, right? I felt bad that I won't be able to see it on the big screen. But, I'll make sure to support the DVD release. It's not a very good movie. But, I don't think that you'll be disappointed," Megan said with a sultry voice before she leaned in and whispered to Edward's ear, "There's me, being topless in it, and also a scene where I was making out with another girl." Jimmy felt like he was the third wheel there. Then, he saw the sign from the staff members and said to Megan, "You guys can continue talking after Edward's filming. Ed, you should go to Roots first to get shelter, to familiarize yourself with the equipment." "Yeah. I really should," Edward said casually. Megan was a bit taken aback as she saw that Edward didn't react to her teasing at all. It made her want to tease him more. "Welcome back," Jimmy said to the camera after the filming began. Megan sat with her legs crossed slightly on the couch next to Jimmy. "A special performance tonight by our amazing guest, Edward Newgate. He was so wonderful that even Megan decided to join us back on stage." Jimmy jokes. Megan chuckled slightly and bantered, "For the very first time on today's filming, just to be clear, I come back here only for Edward. I'm a huge fan of his." The camera cuts to where Edward was preparing, where he waved toward Megan, and she shyly waved him back. The crowd cheered thunderously as they saw Edward again. Jimmy knew he didn't have much time left because the crowd were already going crazy with anticipation for the performance. He took out a black box and put it on top of his desk. A little bit of history behind this game. Edward challenged the entire structure of the music industry when he played a song-creating game during a concert he opened, which was Taylor's concert. Jimmy's eyes lit up. So, here's how he does it. He listened to the keywords, or stories the audience had given him, and then he tried to make a brand new song based on that. Megan, you're going to help Edward here. Pick out a keywords card that we had the audience submit before this, and let's see if Edward could still surprise all of us," Jimmy said as he held the edge of the box. The crowd cheered explosively after they knew what they were writing for before this. The cheer didn't stop as Megan reached into the hole on top of the box, rummaging the pieces of paper inside of it. "Are you trying to find the paper that you wrote?" Jimmy joked with Megan. She grinned mischievously and said, "Yes. But I couldn't find it. I'll just pick up the first one I grab." She took out a piece of paper and gave it to Jimmy. The word that Edward needs to make a song with is. He opened the paper with excitement, and became a bit irritated when he read the words on it. "I don't care?" He kept a smile on his face, but the corner was twitching. He thought that someone tried to be funny, and wanted to do the entire thing again. The crowd was baffled when they heard it and they turned around to see who had written it. "Hey, that's mine," Max shouted excitedly while waving her hand toward Jimmy. She did write it as a joke before, and she also couldn't care less to think about a keyword. She had never been picked for anything, and was really excited that her card was drawn up that she forgot about her carelessness. Edward saw it and chuckled. He intervened before Jimmy could reshoot. "All right. So the keyword is I don't care, right?" Edward rubbed his chin, pretending to think. "I think I can do it." The crowd gasped in awe, then they clapped thunderously for Edward. "It may be a little bit rough," Edward joked. "But I think that I can come out with a good song." Phil shouted, "Edward, you're amazing. I just need to find a beat for it first," Edward said as he slung an acoustic guitar. He played a few melodies before settling on one and said, "I think this one's great. I'll use this one." Song, I Don't Care, Ed Sheeran, acoustic. Live at Abbey Road version. Edward showed a teasing smile as he leaned into the guitar. He used a loop pedal to maintain the beat and melody while singing. He grabbed the microphone and sang.
I'm at a party I don't wanna be at, and I don't ever wear a suit and tie. Wondering if I can sneak at the back. Nobody's even looking me in my eyes. Then you take my hand, finish my drink, say shall we dance? Hell yeah. You know I love you, did I ever tell you? You make it better like that.
The crowd cheered, but it was cut off from the performance audio. Edward's magnetic voice captivated the entire studio. Even the cameraman was enthralled by it and forgot to cut the scene to show Jimmy's face. Edward continued,
Don't think I fit in at this party. Everyone's got so much to say. Yeah, I always feel like I'm nobody. Who wants to fit in anyway?
Aw. Hey Haley exclaimed with a motherly look on her face. Jimmy and Megan involuntarily swayed their body to the song even though they tried to be professional. Edward sang the chorus.
'Cause I don't care when I'm with my baby, yeah. All the bad things disappear. Yeah, you're making me feel like maybe I am somebody. I can deal with the bad night when I'm with my baby, yeah.
The crowd automatically thought about the story Edward shared about him and Taylor at the gala before this. Even Jimmy was shocked by how Edward correlated the two things, and was thoroughly impressed. Max covered her mouth and muttered in shock, he really used it. And the most important part too.
'Cause I don't care, as long as you just hold me near. You can take me anywhere. Yeah, you're making me feel like I'm loved by somebody.
Haley listened to the lyrics carefully despite her jealousy.
I can deal with the bad nights when I'm with my baby, yeah.
The Dunphy sisters realized something. Alex muttered, "Wait a minute. Take him everywhere? Bad nights? This." She turned to Haley and stopped her sentence there. Then, Alex realized that Edward was singing while looking at their direction, further confirming her suspicions.
We're at a party we don't wanna be at. Trying to talk but we can hear ourselves. Read your lips, I'd rather kiss them right back. With all these people all around.
The second Phil heard Edward say the word lip, he covered Luke's ear slowly. Then, he sighed in relief after what he worried about didn't happen. Edward took out the microphone from the stand and went towards the crowd, leaving his loop pedal behind. He walked towards the audience and gave the front row high fives while he sang.
Crippled with anxiety when I'm told it's where I'm supposed to be. You know what? It's kinda crazy 'cause I really don't mind when you make it better like that. Don't think we fit in at this party. Everyone's got so much to say. Yeah. When we walked in I said I'm sorry, but now I think that we should stay.
Edward rushed to the loop pedal as he prepared for the chorus. He held the guitar that he slung to his back again and played it as he sang.
'Cause I don't care when I'm with my baby, yeah. All the bad things disappear. Yeah, you're making me feel like maybe I am somebody. I can deal with the bad nights when I'm with my baby, yeah. 'Cause I don't care, as long as you just hold me near. You can take me anywhere. Yeah, you're making me feel like I'm loved by somebody. I can deal with the bad nights when I'm with my baby, yeah.
Edward turned to the synthesizer microphone and sang the next verse while recording it.
I don't like nobody but you, like you're the only one here. I don't like nobody but you, baby, I don't care. I don't like nobody but you, I hate everyone here. I don't like nobody but you, baby, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't like nobody but you, like you're the only one here. I don't like nobody but you, baby, I don't care. I don't like nobody but you, I hate everyone here.
He returned to the main microphone and continued.
I don't like nobody but you, baby, yeah.
The crowd cheered enthusiastically and they stood up from their seats.
'Cause I don't care when I'm with my baby, yeah. All the bad things disappear. Yeah, you're making me feel like maybe I am somebody. I can deal with the bad nights when I'm with my baby, yeah.
Edward played the loop vocal while singing the next verse, merging the two together beautifully and in harmony.
'Cause I don't care, as long as you just hold me near. You can take me anywhere. You're making me feel like I'm loved by somebody. I can deal with the bad nights.
The loop played out and he sang.
When I'm with my baby, yeah. I don't like nobody.
Edward smiled toward the crowd as he sang the last verse.
I don't like nobody but you, like you're the only one here. I don't like nobody but you, baby, I don't care.
The music slowly fades out, leaving only Edward's vocals.
I don't like nobody but you. I hate everyone here. I don't like nobody but you, baby, yeah.
Give it up for Edward Newgate, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy Fallon stood up and cheered enthusiastically. The performance ended there, and so was today's filming. Edward's forehead was sweaty and he breathed heavily as the crowd shouted his name. He waved towards them, causing more intense cheers. Edward bowed towards the audience, and then made his exit from the stage. The cheers didn't stop even after he had left. Jimmy couldn't hide his grin from the huge success that today's filming had achieved, and he vowed, "Damn. I should get him here at least once a week." Unfortunately for him, he wouldn't ever be able to get his wish. Chapter 187, VMA News. Edward POV. You don't have anything to do here. Want to follow me back to LA? I asked Max teasingly. She played along, widened her eyes and answered excitedly, yes. We just need to stop by my apartment and get my stuff, which all fans fit into a small trash bag. Randall and Haley were alarmed when they heard about the discussion. Wait. What? Haley exclaimed in disbelief while crossing her arms together. Randall said urgently, Edward. You shouldn't do that. What? I'm pretty sure that she and I are brother and sister. I said convincingly. Max placed her right arm around my neck and compared our faces, yes. Can't you guys see that? Max and I messed with Randall and Haley for a while as we waited for Pepper. We surprisingly became good friends after we talked to each other for a while. Right now, we were still in the waiting room in Jimmy Fallon's The Late Night Show studio. It has been an hour since the recording, and I was already late to get home. I checked my watch and said with concern, damn. I don't think I can make it to the team dinner. Again? Haley commented. I nodded towards her and said, yeah, the flight's going to take 5 hours. We'll be home around 11, and I promised them that I will be there 9:30, which was already late enough as it is. Wait. There's a text from Uncle Cam. Haley held her arms at me as if gesturing to me to wait a second before concluding anything. He said the team cannot make it to the team dinner today. Tyler and a few others cannot make it. They didn't even come to practice today. And it's not that they are trying to protest how things have been going, but Tyler sounded really disturbed when Uncle Cam called him before. I felt conflicted, relieved and dejected at the same time. Why? What's going on? What happened to him? I asked nosily. Simultaneously, I was paying attention to Max and Randall's argument about her cupcakes. He said she couldn't even give the cupcakes to me, so she couldn't be trusted. Max replied back with, if we want cupcakes so much, we should stop by her apartment because there's 4 of them left there. And Randall retorted back with saying she's only saying that as an excuse for her to get her stuff and come with us to LA. I was pretty sure that Max is going to fuck Randall soon. Not that they were vibing or anything, but Max's standard is really low, and she would just fuck him to win the argument. Haley continued amidst the bickering, Uncle Cam doesn't know. And he's trying to find out. Let him make Jacob try to find out. Cam sniffing around a couple of high school boys can be construed as very creepy. I advised. Haley paused, looked at me weirdly, before her eyes lit up with realization, you're right. It's going to seem very creepy. Phil then came in with Alex and Luke after going sightseeing in New York City. Luke was wearing an NYC hat, while Alex was holding a couple of food bags and drinks. Alex said, I figured you guys will be hungry. Starving. I said and patted her head gently, you did good, young Padawan. She rolled her eyes and brushed my hand away fiercely, don't pat my head, Darth Prankius. I snorted a bit and said, that's great. I'm going to use that one all the time. Haley was texting and she shouted in excitement, everyone stop what you're doing. I found out why. Why what? Phil asked while putting on his NYC hat. I explained to him casually why a few of the players didn't come to practice today. Ah. High school stuff. Phil said. Tyler got his girlfriend pregnant. Haley shouted. Max automatically perked up her ear and she pressed her stomach and asked herself, I am? Oh wait. I'm not in high school anymore. I know about protection now. I froze for a bit and my legs automatically turned towards the door. Then, I realized that she mentioned Tyler who did that and felt relieved. Alex narrowed her eyes at my reaction but I ignored her and went to Haley. You're being serious? I asked. Look. Tara found out. Tyler and Lisa went to the pharmacy and got a pregnancy test. The pharmacist there is her neighbor. Haley explained. Oh my God. She's going to get so fat. She exclaimed subconsciously. Haley giggled as she texted with Tara, and then slowly raised her eyes to look at the people around her as she felt their gaze. What? She asked. I giggled before shaking my head disapprovingly at her while she was confused. I turned to Phil and asked him, Phil, you don't mind Max going back with us to LA, right? Haley puts her phone down quickly. You're still on that? What? Every celebrity does it. I said while shrugging. Who? Who does that? And what exactly are they doing? What insidious scheme are you planning next? Pepper suddenly swaggered in with a paper fan on his hand. Haley tattled quickly before I could reply, Edward wants to bring Max with him to LA. And let her stay at his house. Really? That's interesting. Pepper whispered to himself. You're on his side? Haley exclaimed, aggrieved. Max chuckled and then walked beside me. Calm down, Malibu Barbie. I can't believe you still haven't got that he was joking. Are you guys even dating? WWH, what joke we're not? Haley stammered for a while before shouting unconvincingly to Max. Oh. So you're not coming? I pouted. Max pinched my cheek and giggled, sorry. You're pretty awesome, but I have a friend here that means so much to me. I can't leave him behind. Really? You're attached to someone? Randall commented. Max glared at him and said, I am human, you know? It's Earl from the diner. He's already 72 years old. I can't let him be there alone. He'll die early from boredom if I'm not around. Also, I really can't go back with you, 'cause I'm pretty sure this guy is giving me daddy issues I never knew I had. Max said as she pointed to Phil. Max left with Randall to get me some cupcakes from her apartment. While they were gone, I had a serious talk with Pepper. What's going on? Why are you so late? I asked. Pepper fanned his face and said aggrieved, well. Good news and bad news. The good thing is, you can come to the VMA. But, the bad news is, our agency doesn't really have any inside connection to MTV, so you can't be nominated. They tried to play it off as you're too young, but they were hinting about needing some money or benefits to smooth things over. They are doing it on purpose since the voting starts the day after tomorrow. Pepper added. I shook my head and then said, don't worry about that. Marshall and Dre have already talked to me about this. They are going to be my backer, so those MTV guys can't really demand anything from us. Pepper slapped his fan shut and leaned forward, you should have told me that sooner. I had already agreed to a date with the most gaudy and boring-looking man there. I chuckled and apologized, I'm sorry about that. But, in their defense, they must have looked like that because they were compared to your outstanding outfit. Pepper smiled smugly and dramatically sling his scarf on his neck, that's a given. What about Taylor and Coldplay? I asked as I sipped some coffee. Both of them are fine. Taylor's Love Story music video is nominated, so she might have a chance to win. Pepper said with excitement. She will win. I replied decisively. Pepper flashed a kind smile before he became solemn again, but Coldplay could only be there as a guest. They won't be able to release a new album before the VMA, and even if they could, they wouldn't be able to gain any traction with their songs, so our effort will be wasted. How about performance? I asked. Pepper nodded and said, they can if they join you on stage. All right. so they will sing Viva la Vida together with me. I said. Pepper opened his fan again and said, good plan. Anyway, I'm going to need to stay in New York for a couple of days to finalize a few things. Ah, what do you want to do about Taylor's new MV? We did get a slot for a promotion performance, but the MV isn't ready yet. We only have 3 more days. Huh? I thought we have 10 more days? I asked, confused. Yeah. 10 more days till the VMAs, but her MV needs to be on MTV for about a week for her to be eligible to promote it there. Wait, whose rule is this? I asked, aggrieved. MTV's. Pepper replied casually. So, the MV needs to be done in 3 days. FFFFFUCK. I cursed. Now that we have cleared all of that. Tell me, why do you like Max so much? Pepper's serious face disappeared and he became gossipy instantly. Her boobs, of course. I replied instantly. Pepper scoffed disdainfully and said, I've seen you turn down a lot of amazing breasted girls during your tour even when they were throwing themselves right at you. You're not that superficial. I chuckled and joked, yeah I am. I'm very superficial. If you don't want to tell me, fine. I will just ask Haley about it. Haley dash. All right. Stop. I grabbed Pepper's raised hand and slowly lowered it. You win. I snorted disdainfully at him. He smiled innocently and said, so? Well, she doesn't really have any ambition. She had a terrible childhood that she became emotionally shut down. She can't really trust anyone, but once someone managed to bypass her defense, she would die for that person. I said slowly. She joked around a lot to ease the pain. Despite her mean attitude, she is actually kinda nice, although she is slutty. Then, I realized something. About how she used sex as an escape. How she took care of the elderly cashier because he is a father figure to her. She's similar to me. To be exact, she was similar to me from my past life. Once a child has to find ways to take care of themselves growing up, they become accustomed to keeping everyone else at bay so as to not let themselves get hurt again. Pepper nodded in understanding and said, that's why you're calling her your sister? Because you guys have a lot in common? Yes. And also, it's because I really believe that my life will be so much more interesting if I have a sibling like her. I said jokingly. Pepper thought for a while. He seemed to decide something, then he turned to me and said, and lastly before you go back home. What's this I hear about you, cursing out the live audience today? I did? Yeah. You said that you hate everyone there. In a song. General POV. The late night show interview today was broadcasted on TV when Edward was on the plane, so he couldn't see the show live. Despite that, the rating of the show almost quadrupled from the previous day interview, and it was almost catching up with the popular late night show programs in the country. It was all thanks to a short video Edward posted on his Instagram where he and Jimmy put on a skit about tonight's show. That boosted the show's rating as young kids would have never wanted to watch the show as it was. Lily, the fan club president, said urgently to her army of collaborators, post everything on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I want everyone to know about this. If we missed it, then there's no chance for us to watch it again. Although she was exaggerating, compared to Edward's interviews on his streaming sites where they could watch it over and over at their own time, broadcast television programs were really lacking. Taylor was glued in front of the TV with Selena by her side as they watched the show. Why is he even there? Selena said disdainfully. No one knows who Jimmy Fallon is. Edward has a vision. We need to trust him. And if it doesn't work, tease him. Taylor joked. Selena narrowed her eyes as she gazed at Taylor. Don't change the subject. Till when are you going to stay next to him, without even telling him about it? Taylor chuckled nervously. You make it seem like I'm some sort of crazy, obsessed, stalker ex-girlfriend or anything. I'm just trying to see how long it'll take him to realize I was staying here. I found the binocular next to your bed. Selena exposed Taylor. Shoo. His interview is starting. Taylor said dismissively and gestured for Selena to shut up. They were hooked by the banter and the bagel skits, which made them laugh a few times. Then, Jimmy suddenly took out the photo of Taylor and Edward taken from the gala and showed it to the audience. Jimmy, but, rather than a Sith Lord, we actually preferred you in some romance genre, maybe a story of Romeo and Juliet? Edward, I knew this would come out. Taylor's eyes glistened in anticipation as she heard about the topic. She shook the unfortunate Selena beside her. He's talking about us. Selena rolled her eyes and said, You already know this. He discussed it with you before he went over. Yeah, but he didn't tell me what he was going to talk about. Taylor defended as to not let Selena break her delusions. Edward, honestly, I don't like being there all that much. Taylor, Selena, and most of Edward's fans who were watching were a bit surprised when they heard that. Edward, I just think that you need a certain level of maturity to survive in these types of events. Or maybe because it was my first time there, I don't feel quite comfortable. Taylor snorted and said, Liar. He adapted in a second. Edward, I didn't really fit in at the event until I met with Versace. And confession, Father Jimmy? Jimmy, yes, child? The crowd laughed as the duo pretended once more. Edward, if I didn't want to get to the dance, I would have never stayed there. The crowd gasped and then cheered explosively after that. Taylor covered her mouth and her face was blushing from excitement. Selena fanned Taylor's face in understanding and said, Calm down. Calm down. You know he's using ambiguous words on purpose. He had already told you about this. Don't tap into your suppressed insanity again. While Selena was trying hard to persuade the heavy-breathing Taylor, the fans were already going crazy all over Twitter about the story. It cemented the already solid relationship speculation amongst the two of them. In the full broadcasted interview, the story about the lint remover and also the coronet were removed, and the others were kept behind. As people saw Edward creating a new game with Jimmy, and absolutely destroying the impression of MJ singing Sesame Street theme song, the internet exploded. At Scarlett_Johansson, oh my god. I didn't expect it when Ed told me to watch the show today. I got goosebumps. Hugging body dot emoji. At RDJ replying to Scarlett_Johansson, what happened? I missed it. At Conan O'Brien, that was amazing. And what a nice tribute to our king of pop. At the Jackson, it sure was. At Kelly Clarkson, never has it crossed my mind a desire to see someone impressioning Stevie Wonder singing one of my songs. And now, it's all I could ever think about. Wonder if you can make it a full song? At Edward_Newgate. A lot of people missed the broadcast, but then, Jimmy released a few short clips of the interviews on YouTube. Those who wanted to see the highlight were relieved, but then they learned that they had missed the part where Edward played a song game with the crowd, and was aggrieved again. After a thorough discussion between Jimmy and Edward's PR representative, the video was decided to be held back as it could strike people as condescending if it was taken out of context. The interview and the performance were a set, and Jimmy couldn't get the clearance from the TV network to upload a long-duration video on the internet. Still, it wouldn't be for long since there was a high demand for it, and all it was going to do was help the network's status and push Jimmy's show to the forefront compared to other late-night shows. Any idiot would see that it was more beneficial for them to release it rather than keeping it for themselves. Jimmy's name started to become widespread all over the internet. As he watched the rating graph with his director, he cried a bit and said, I waited for so long, everyone. Edward Newgate will forever be our hero. In California, Edward's family and friends were also having a viewing party. Claire, Ted, Gloria, Sal, Mitch and Cam, Jay and Manny were all gathered at Ted's living room. Mitch teased Claire, you could have watched the show live, Claire. Cam added with a smirk, but instead, you had to indulge in your appetite. Honestly, Ted. You need to watch her around Edward. Ted smirked and piled on the teasing, well, based on what Edward told me, I agreed with him. Claire rolled her eyes and retorted, I didn't do that on purpose. And please stop this let's rub Claire's misery in her face party. Gloria chuckled and added, "But you did eat all of Phil's and Luke's donuts on purpose, yes?" Manny shook his head to show his disappointment to Claire while he was walking by. Manny's commentary: "Am I mad that all of the other kids in this family got the experience of watching the show live? I am not. Edward invited me too, but I don't want to spend most of my days inside a plane." Commentary ends. Jay finally spoke up, "All right. She made a mistake. Let's move on. Cam, let's talk about your football team." Cam's eyes lit up as he was finally the center of attention. He said, "Oh my God, you won't believe what happened during training today." While Cam was gossiping at the watch party, another intense discussion was held at Jenna's new house near Jay's mansion. Enid and Jenna were comforting Elsa on the couch while Jacob was staring blankly at the ceiling. Enid muttered, "Why, you should take the test first. Nothing is confirmed yet, right?" Edward POV. Inside the plane. I was working on my laptop when Haley suddenly walked near me. I stopped what I was doing and turned towards her. "What is it?" She pretended to be confused. "I walked here, definitely not to bother you. I wanted to tell you something, but I forgot." "Well, then, I guess you have to stay here until you remember it." I flirted. She tried to cover up her smile, which made her seem even cuter, and said, "No. I don't want to bother you with your work." I closed my laptop and said, "Don't worry. I'm sure that what you're going to tell me is more important than my work." Suddenly we shuddered as we saw Phil smiling kindly at us from afar. Haley stammered, and then her phone chimed. I grinned and said jokingly, "Why? Is there another girl who got pregnant today?" Haley chuckled and said, 14 girls. All on the same day. I'm sure that it's just a mass hysteria or something." Alex said disdainfully from afar, "Stop talking like that's your opinion. You don't even know what mass hysteria meant before I explained it to you." We ignored the pissed-off middle child who was getting jet lag from the constant air travel. Haley checked her phone and then her expression froze. "What's going on?" I asked with concern, then I suddenly got a notification on my phone. It was a private message from Enid, telling me about the situation. Elsa's pregnant? What the actual foo dash? Chapter 188, Sex Ed. Edward POV. As Luke and Alex were extremely jet-lagged, Phil took his children home after we returned to California. I, however, rushed to Jenna's house even though it was almost midnight. Jenna opened the door, wearing Victorian-era style pajamas. I couldn't believe my eyes and pointed at her dress. "When I'm settled with Jacob, we'll get back to this." She defended herself, "This is what the pastor made us wear at church camp." "Where did you go to camp? Little House of the Prairie?" She rolled her eyes and said, "Exposing your figure, especially at night, will make the devil tempts us with lust, and also dash." "All right, none, Jenna. I heard enough." I stopped her quickly before she turned it into a sermon. "Where's your mom?" I asked as we walked up the stairs together. Me at the front, she at the back. Jenna brightened up and said, "She got casted for a role. Granted, it's for a piranha film, but she still got it." "Huh? What's the title?" "Piranha 3D. Jenna replied. "I still don't know what kind of film it is." I paused in my step before turning towards Jenna. I patted her shoulder and said, "It's better if you don't know." I opened the door to Jenna's room, and went directly to Jacob and Elsa. "How did you know you're pregnant? Have you done the test yet?" Enid jumped up from the bed and rushed towards me. She answered for Jacob, "We did the vinegar test, and the toothpaste test." "Huh? Why don't you just buy a pregnancy test kit from the drugstore?" I asked in confusion and bafflement. Also, what the fuck is a vinegar test? Elsa said sarcastically, "Sure." Just waltzed into the pharmacy and told the clerk, "Hi. I'm Elsa. I'm 14 and pregnant. Will you tell it to everyone else in the neighborhood?" Think Ed. Just ask Jenna's mom to do it. Or Jacob's mom. Wait, I see where I got it wrong here. All right. So, what is the vinegar test? Or the toothpaste test? I said as I grabbed Jacob's shoulder to comfort him. Both tests show that it is positive, Enid said before Elsa burst into tears. She covered her face with her hands as she sobbed. Jacob was also teary, and he turned to Elsa. Babe. I know that it seems like the whole world is falling down right now, but just so you know, I will be by your side until the end. He then fell to one knee and said, Elsa. Will you marry me? Enid, stop him. Elsa ordered. Enid then covered Jacob's mouth as she followed the order. I rubbed my throbbing forehead and then asked, wait. It's not confirmed yet until you truly do the test. You kids. I let out a heavy sigh and said, don't you guys know anything about protection or safe sex? Jacob. You always told me every single detail of your relationship with Elsa, but you forgot to tell me that you lost your virginity? Ha! I am still a virgin. Elsa shouted hurriedly. I froze from the confusion. You're still a virgin? Then, what kind of Virgin Mary birth are you having? Who's going to be the three wise men? Me, Jenna, and Enid? Why, you still can get pregnant even when you're still a virgin. Enid defended Elsa. Yeah. As long as Jacob muttered shyly and trailed off. Jenna rolled her eyes and said, as long as your cum falls on her belly. I opened my mouth a few times, but I was so bewildered that my words couldn't come out. Okay. I need a thorough explanation about this whole thing. Every single detail. I said while my lips twitched from trying to hold back my laughter. From Jacob. Confused by my reaction, Jacob gulped his saliva and said, No. I don't know. Tell me. I urged him. Tell me how a baby is made. Jacob stammered shyly, and his face was blushing red. I said, hey, you have already done it, but you're still shy? What are you going to tell your kids one day when they ask? Jacob squirmed for a while before he flashed a look of determination. Well, the semen needs to be ejaculated on the girl's stomach. And after 9 months, a baby will come out. How did that happen? Scientifically? Jacob couldn't even enjoy his relief when he finally finished his story when he had fallen into another quagmire. Elsa was irritated and finally spoke, Ed. What are you doing? Why are you torturing him? I couldn't hold my laughter back anymore. I laughed and wheezed while holding my stomach. The group was startled and confused. Jenna said nervously, that's not how you get pregnant? I laughed harder as I heard her question. My knees felt weak and I slumped on the floor. You guys are all, wheeze heavily. Dumbass, I whispered and laughed as I hit the floor, not forgetting to mock these guys as I did. Jenna and Enid's face turned red. Elsa covered her face with a pillow while Jacob went to the windowsill, thinking about whether or not he should jump from there, and ran away to avoid the embarrassment. After 5 minutes, the group was already numb. Enid looked at me and said tiredly, he's still laughing. I was lying down on my back and was holding my stomach. My eyes were teary, and my voice became hoarse. What happened here today cannot get out of this room. Elsa said menacingly. We might need to silence him. She made a throat-cutting gesture, and the others nodded to her. I shuddered and finally stopped laughing. All right. I won't tell anyone else about this. Don't kill me. That might not be a choice, Ed. Enid bared her teeth to me and made a clawing gesture. Someone reel the wolf cub back. I promise. I really won't tell another soul about this. I brushed the dust off my pants before sitting on the edge of Jenna's bed. Then, I lied down and covered my eyes with my arm. That made me feel relieved. Suddenly, I'm so tired right now. The group's animosity towards me thawed quickly as they realized that I had rushed there after my busy schedule just to check up on them. Jenna and Enid also laid down on the bed, while Elsa and Jacob sat together. When I asked Jacob and Elsa how they came to the conclusion, they told me that Tyrone, and everyone else who got the pregnancy scare today told them about it. A viral rumor spread quickly around the school today, saying that a girl can get pregnant when a boy ejaculates on her stomach. Based on a true story. Most of the girls had already done the pregnancy test using the kit they bought at the pharmacy, so they knew that it was all fake. But not everyone was fortunate enough to think about that. Why didn't you ask Alex? Or Abraham? Alex is a nerd, and Abraham is a horny dude. I'm pretty sure that they know about this. I asked them while lying down sideways. We don't want anyone else to know. Elsa confessed with a blushing face. Now we know that that's pretty stupid. I nodded in agreement and asked hesitantly, you guys do know how a baby is made, right? Jenna rolled her eyes and said, obviously we don't. I groaned and then said, give me a piece of paper. Their eyes lit up and Jenna immediately went to grab a book. I hesitated and said, I don't want to encourage you guys, but not knowing about these things could bring much more harm compared to knowing about it. Usually, it was the parents' job to do this, or sex ed class at school dash. Elsa interjected quickly, could you teach us soon, and stop dilly-dallying? Yeah. We don't even have sex at school. Jacob added. And there is no way that my mom or dad will teach these things to me. Wait. There's no sex education class at school? Shouldn't every school have one? I asked in confusion. Jacob said, I think there were some classes a few years back when my sister went there. But they stopped it when Principal Brown came to the school. Huh? Why? I asked. Ed. Elsa urged. Come on. It's already very late. Ah, right. Okay, first, let's start with the male and female's reproductive organs. I said as I drew on the book. I kept the topic strictly from the biological perspectives, and told them how exactly human reproduction works. After 10 minutes of teaching them how it works, all of them were frozen. Then, I asked Jacob, how did you get your mom to let you stay at a girl's house until so late? Oh, he answered weakly, I kinda told them that I was having a sleepover at your place. I paused as Jacob sweats anxiously. It's fine. I muttered, making him exclaim in relief. Let's go. Enid's eyes widened and she asked, wait, that's it? He doesn't need to ask you beforehand? Well, a bro needs to lend a hand whenever another bro had fucked up. I didn't make the rules. The bro code did. I said. Bro code? Jenna asked curiously. It's like the Bible, but for brothers. I said teasingly. Jenna rolled her eyes and then pushed me off her bed. Go now. Suddenly, Jenna's mother opened her bedroom door before Jenna could throw me away. Alexandria's face was a little bit flushed from drinking. Hey! Edward! Jacob is also here. Thank God, is Jenna finally over her whole being devoted game? She muttered slurredly before staggering to the bed. She slumped on the bed and said, you guys are doing some group activities? Jenna became irritated and said, hey, it's not a game. I hinted at Jacob and both of us stood up. We walked away quietly while Jenna was nagging her mother. General POV. Where's the boys? Jenna asked after sending her mother to her room. Gone. Elsa replied curtly as she studied the information Ed had written down in the book. I think that there's still a lot of things he didn't tell us. She added. Like, what is a safe day? Jenna rolled her eyes and said, get that thing off my bed. Enid chuckled and said, girl, you really had changed, huh? No more, slutty Jenna. Even though you're the first one amongst us to lose their virginity. Elsa joked. Jenna was fuming, please don't bring that up anymore. Yes, I made some bad choices before this dash. Enid asked, interrupting Jenna, did you bleed? When you're, hymen, you know? Although she had known about all that stuff, she was still embarrassed to ask her friend about it. Jenna was taken aback and said, "What? Bleed?" Elsa added, "Huh? No, I didn't bleed." "Really? Was he too small?" Elsa added. Jenna was aggrieved. "I don't want to talk about this anymore." Alright then. But, I'm kinda concerned. If there's no blood, was he even in the right hole? Elsa joked. Jenna was confused. Huh? Why did he need to enter my holes? Enid scrunched her eyebrows. Didn't you hear what Edward said before? I kinda tuned everything out, Jenna said. And just stared at him. She added internally. You need penetration, you know? To have sex. Elsa said and then explained what Edward had said before to Jenna. Jenna was baffled, and her face turned from confusion to conflicted expression and then to elation. Hey! He only rubbed it on the outside. She realized it. Then, she kneeled on the floor and clasped her hands together. God. Thank you for saving my chastity even when I was just a lost lamb. I swear that this time, I will save myself till marriage and not throw it around like a common whore. Elsa was shocked. Wait. You're still a virgin. That's impossible. 5-star hotel, New York City. It's all your fault that we're late. Max muttered in annoyance as she followed Randall from behind. They were in the hotel's lobby as Randall awaited the company's arrangement for him. That homeless guy has a knife. I had to run away. Randall defended himself while holding a cardboard box containing the cupcakes. That guy is a midget. And he's holding a plastic knife. Max said angrily. Then, you took the wrong subway, 3 times. I am just new here. Randall said meekly. Max shook her head and said, you should go back to California. You don't have what it takes to be a New Yorker. I agree. Pepper suddenly appeared in front of the duo. He too was staying in the hotel and was going to meet some of his friends when he saw the duo bickering consistently. As soon as Max saw Pepper, she grinned and joked, Hey, I think you're at the wrong side of the city. Queens is over there. Pepper chuckled with a snort and said, so bitchy. I love her. All gay guys love me. Max said casually. And it was true. Her mean attitude added with her casual insults bodes well with this demography. Some even asked me where I get my boobs done, and almost all of them are disappointed when they knew it's a natural. Well, that made me have one less question. Pepper said. So, you're Max the cupcake baker, right? I'm a waitress at a dead-end job, but I do bake a little. Max said. I assume you're this guy's boss? She asked, referring to Randall. That's me. Pepper said and took the cupcake box from Randall. He explained to Max, Edward had to go home right away, and he told me to apologize to you. Oh. He could have called. Max said disappointedly. Pepper was confused and said, he did? He called and texted you, but you didn't reply. Max was shocked. What? He did? She took out her old phone and pressed its button, but all she could see was a dark screen. Damn it! I wasted $3 whole on this phone. Pepper was astonished. But, he's going to be there next week, and he asked you to prepare some cupcakes for him then. He added after he decided to ignore what Max had just said. Max smiled brightly and brushed her hair behind her ear. Oh. He's coming back. Usually when guys disappear on me, they won't come back. I guess he's an exception. Believe me. He is. Pepper said as opened up the cupcake box and took a bite on the red velvet cupcake. His eyes widened and he said, oh my god. This is quite good. No wonder Edward wants it so bad. Max chuckled and said, I usually only hear that sentence in a very specific context, so hearing it about my cupcakes is refreshing for me. While licking the cream off his lips, Pepper looked at Max from top to bottom and contemplated, What? Max said. This waitress's uniform sucks, I know. They really do. Pepper said. But that's not why I am mulling. Max, I have an offer for you. Well, I know that you're gay, so it is not going to be sexual, so I'll hear you out. Max replied. Pepper eyed Randall and said, You see. These guys here. Do you think that he's a wimp? Pepper. Randall gasped in offense. Absolutely. Max replied instantly, causing Randall to gasp again. I have a lot of work to do here in New York, and he's supposed to be my assistant. But as you can see, he'll just let anyone walk all over him. That's true. Max said while nodding. I don't need to hear this. Randall said while throwing his hands up, and then he walked away, shaking his head. Pepper turned back to Max and said, See. So sensitive. However, he is really good at his job and managing Edward's schedule. So, Max. I'll be honest with you. I like your attitude, and I feel that it is what our company needs for us to make it in New York. Wait. Is this a job interview? Max asked, astonished. Before you decide anything, I should let you know that I don't even have a high school diploma. I have only known waitressing my whole life. I have no skills to do anything else. Doesn't matter. I just need you for your mean attitude. You know, like a guard dog. You're going to intimidate those old men that we're going to meet so that they won't try to do anything. Threatening old people? That's like my dream job. Max said in excitement. Pepper chuckled and said, So, I take it that you're in? Max hesitated for a while and said carefully, Mr. Pepper Dash. Please. Just call me Pepper. Also, it's Mr. Saltzman. Okay. Pepper. Look. I know that you guys are all good people. So I'll just give it to you straight. I'm not really good at my job. Well, I can see that. Aren't you supposed to be waitressing right now? See? The evidence is already clear. Max agreed with Pepper. She touched her hair and said, I don't want to screw things up for Edward. He seems like a very nice dude. Apparently, that dude feels the same way about you. Pepper added, making Max startled. And in my few months of getting to know Edward, there's two things that I am absolutely sure about him. First, he's a genius. And not that standard genius. No, he's like a savant. He's going to be successful in everything that he tries. Randall returned at this moment, already calmed down. He widened his eyes and said, Wait. Edward has the savant syndrome? That would mean that he has an intellectual disability, so no. He's just good at everything. Pepper cleared up. And the second one is, Ed has an eyes for good people. Like Claire, like Randall here, Dwayne, Ronaldo. He has that sixth sense. A gift, you can say. He can see the good in others, even when they themselves couldn't see it. And Edward told me, he saw himself in you. What? Max was astonished. What's so similar? Did someone offer him money to get into bed with them too? Pepper smiled as he saw that Max was using humor to deflect what she was feeling again. In a way, Pepper joked. But more of, coming from a dysfunctional family, and he had to raise himself too. Wait. He did? Max was surprised. But he has that good dad beside him? Phil? He only met that guy this year. Pepper explained. I'll tell you all about him later. So Max. Do you want to return to working at the diner for the Italian mafia, or do you want to go out there and threaten old people? The choice is yours. Max chuckled and said, Well, if you put it like that, of course I'm going to pick the latter. Then, welcome aboard. Pepper said as he gave Max a hug, the Italian Godfather way. Wait. Max is joining us? Randall was shocked. Max turned to him and threatened, Yeah. So you better watch yourself or I'll stab you with a fork. Randall turned to Pepper and said, Can't you see that? She's mentally unstable. Do you really want to hire her? Don't be afraid. Max is just practicing what she's going to say to those old people. Pepper said knowingly. Max chuckled and said, yeah. And the more I do that, the more I can find my smile again. See? It won't stop. She pointed at her grin. Chapter 189, Messy Schedule, 1. General POV. Camila entered Edward's house and greeted Ted, who was sipping his morning coffee in the kitchen. She was wearing a slightly messy white tank top with oil stains and old jeans. Her hair is also frizzy, and she has a bruise on the side left of her face. Ted was startled and asked hurriedly, "Why do you look like that? What happened? Did you get in a fight?" Camila was confused, and then she realized the state that she's in. Oh. This? No, this is just a normal Wednesday night for me. Ted widened his eyes in disbelief. Camila shoved off the topic and asked, "Where's Ed?" I think he's taking a shower." Ted replied. "I'll go see him first, and then I'll take a nap." Camila said with a yawn. "Ooh, and if the cops came, tell them that I was here for the entire night." "Do you want ice for your face?" Ted asked casually after nodding at Camila's request. "Frozen peas? Chicken meat? Chicken meat?" Camila was intrigued. Ted shrugged and said, "I don't know if that really works. Ed told me that, so there's a high chance that he's messing around again." "He could be," Camila said after thinking for a while. Ted chuckled and took out the frozen peas from the fridge, wrapped it with a towel, and handed it to Camila. She took it and turned around before Ted asked, "Wait. You're staying here for Ed's dinner party, right?" "Sure, wait, what do you mean Ed's dinner party?" "He invited the Dunphys, his godsister from school dash." "He got a godsister?" Camila asked, flabbergasted. Ted nodded and said, "Yeah. She's a teacher. A very nice Italian girl." Then, Ted explained a bit of what he knew from Phil, who knew about the matter from his daughters. "Oh, that's why he could make those amazing Italian dishes," Camila exclaimed while icing her face. "I'll stay here today. It's been a while since I have spent some time with my nephew." Meanwhile, in Edward's room, Jacob finally woke up from his deep sleep and stretched as he left the IKEA-style pull-out bed that Ed designed on his own. He pushed his single bed back under Edward's bed after tidying them up while only in his underwear. As Edward walked back into the room, he was greeted with the sight of Jacob bending over to insert the bed properly, displaying his bright red underpants to the room. "Dude! Come on! Even baboons have the decency to wait after breakfast." Edward scowled, shielding his eyes from the sight of Jacob's behind. "And why do you have to sleep in your underwear anyway? I don't think you have that habit before?" Jacob stood up properly, not ashamed of his current situation. He smiled and said, "Well, me and Elsa read an article saying that it's healthier for us to sleep while being naked. After I tried it, I couldn't go back to sleeping in the old ways, using pajamas." Translation: You video called Elsa every night, and did the cyber nasty. After falling asleep while naked, you fell in love with it. Edward teased. Jacob nodded instinctively but then was shook. "No wonder you guys thought that dash." "Okay. You said that you won't bring it up." Jacob stopped anxiously and with a brightly flushed face. "Wrong. I said that I won't tell another soul about this. I can tease you about it all I want if it's just the two of us," Edward said with a menacing laugh. "I guess I'll just have to make you forget." Jacob shouted and started wrestling Edward. He placed his hands on his waist, at the same time, his actions caused Edward's towel to slip, revealing his green boxer. "What the oh, you want a piece of this? Come on," Edward said before locking Jacob's head in an armlock. Both of the two naked boys wrestled each other, knocking out a few books from Edward's table in the process. Camila, who was ascending the stairs, heard the scuffle, and slowly made her way to Edward's bedroom door. "Do you yield?" Edward asked. Edward executed a submission hold on Jacob, positioning himself behind him. He locked his arms underneath Jacob's armpit and interlocked them behind his neck. This tight grip immobilized Jacob and made it nearly impossible for him to break free. "Never!" Jacob yelled. But 5 seconds of silence later, "All right. I yield." Edward chuckled and released his hands. Jacob limply fell forward, and he had to place his hand on the bed to prevent himself getting to the ground. His prompt decision saved him from further embarrassment, however. Oh boys! So lively in the morning. Camila caught them in an awkward position where Jacob was bending over and Edward was standing too close behind him. Edward was surprised to see her. He knew that if he played it casually, she wouldn't be able to further tease them. However, Jacob didn't know how to handle the situation well. "Ed's aunt. This isn't what you think," he said anxiously before grabbing Edward's blanket to cover himself like a mistreated girl. "Bah ha ha." Camila burst into laughter. She laughed until there were tears in her eyes. "Dumbass." I whispered to Jacob before walking to her, "What's wrong with your face, hair, shirt, and why do you smell smoky?" "Oh, this? I just had an interesting night. I'm going to go to sleep now, I just wanted to see you first." "And, you're the top, huh?" she teased. "Always." Edward replied casually. "You're going straight to sleep?" "Yes. You can text me if you want me to buy anything for your dinner party. I'll be sure to have it ready before you get back from school." Edward paused and crunched his eyebrows. "Oh, right, the dinner party." Jacob was confused. "Didn't you say to the team that we're having the team party today?" "Wait. Ed. You double booked?" Camila asked with a grin before she winced from the pain of contorting her face. "Damn it," she cursed to herself. "You need to get that checked out," Edward said to her. "Also, I wait. It's not double, maybe like quadruple booking?" "Ha? X2. Both of the people looked at Edward with an expression of demanding explanation. Ed hesitated for a while before sighing. "Well, I actually need to finish shooting for Taylor's music video before Saturday. So I won't be going to school. I have already contacted her last night, and will be going to meet her in an hour." "So that's another one. What's the last one?" Camila asked. A devilish plan to make someone think he has a bastard child. I'll cancel that one. I have waited too long for it to still be relevant," Edward said. Both of them were confused once more. "Ed, what the hell are you talking about?" Camila grimaced. Ed dismissed them with a wave of his hand and said, "Not important. I can still cancel that. I'll just have to repay the actress in another way. Not, in a sexual way kinda thing, right?" Jacob asked carefully with a sly grin on his face. Camila rolled her eyes and said, "If you did that, then I will punch you." "I won't. Also, you need to take a shower before getting to your room. Or else, you'll ruin the sheets." "No. I don't want to." Camila whined. "It's cute that you think you have a choice," Ed muttered menacingly. Camila paused for a while before she turned and ran away. "Catch her," Edward ordered Jacob. The two friends managed to catch Camila. They held her one arm each before raising her body up. Her legs levitated in the air, and she begged, "Ed, we can talk about this." "No," Edward replied before opening the bathroom door. "I'll leave some clothes in front of the door." Then, he shoved his aunt through the door. Camila grumbled and said, "You should have more mercy for injured people." "What are you talking about? Even if I don't do this, you should think for yourself that you need to get rid of the gunpowder smell on your clothes. I assume, you don't want anyone to find out about that, right?" Camila rolled her eyes and said, "I didn't kill anyone. Some of the people there opened fire into the sky to celebrate." "You mean the street racers?" Edward interrupted. Jacob widened his eyes. "Your aunt is a street racer? That's so cool." Great. Now you have exposed me. Camila grumbled. Now get lost. Or do you want to watch your aunt shower naked? Oh, I forgot, you already have a partner, Jacob. Edward slammed the door in front of Camila's face and shouted, "Don't forget to use soap." Jacob then heard some Spanish cursing behind the door, and then he went back to Edward's bedroom. After getting ready by borrowing Ted's toilet, Jacob had breakfast with Ed and his dad before Ted got ready to send him to school. Unlike Edward, he couldn't skip school whenever he felt like it. Ted asked before he left, "What are you going to do about all of your plans?" "I'll figure something out," Edward replied casually. Ted turned and walked a few steps towards his car before he turned back and asked carefully, "You're not going to try to do everything all at once, like in the movies when the guy has 2 dates at the same time, right?" Edward grinned and said ambiguously, "Maybe." Ted paused and tried to persuade, "'Cause you know, that setting will only work when the 2 places are in close proximity with each other. I don't think you can have the dinners while shooting the music video at the same time." Edward rubbed his chin as he thought about it. "I don't know. I may be able to do exactly that." Ted was speechless and then decided to give up his persuasion. "All right. But in care you crashed and burned, you know you can count on me for help." "I will," Edward replied. Suddenly, his phone chimed with a text message coming in. He checked it out and muttered, "Huh. The gang is playing D&D today. All right, I'm in." "Ed," Ted said in disbelief. Edward burst into laughter and said, "I was just joking. Dunphy's house." "Mom, I have a headache," Alex said while walking groggily to the kitchen. Her nose was reddish and she looked fairly unwell. Claire was making breakfast for her children and stopped all that she was doing. She walked to Alex and automatically placed her hand on her daughter's forehead to check for a fever. "Oh honey, you're burning up. Why don't you go get some more rest, and I will bring some food to you later," Claire said. Alex nodded before she realized something. "Don't you have work?" "It's fine, I just need some cold medicine. Don't worry. I can just walk from home and take care of you at the same time," Claire said sweetly. Claire's commentary. Timing-wise, this fever couldn't have chosen a more opportune moment. Claire said, "After Phil took the kids away to New York for the day, I used the time to think and to reflect. Then, I realized that I have been so busy with my work these days that I had neglected my children. I found out that I know nothing of what is going on with their lives right now. So, I'm going to take some time and try to bond with Alex, and maybe," she then said quickly, use her vulnerabilities right now to instill some right ideas inside her mind about her relationship with boys. She flashed an innocent smile that seemed sinister regardless. Then, she showed an unfortunate expression and said, "If only I could do that to Haley too." Commentary ends. Haley walked into the kitchen wearing a sexy dress, all ready for her day at school. She opened the fridge door and then asked, "Mom, don't we have any milk?" "It's on the table." "Honey, what about you? Are you okay?" Claire asked with a sweet motherly voice. Haley was a bit alarmed and she looked at her mother warily. "No. I'm fine." "Oh, Alex, did you catch a cold? Get away from me, I can't get sick today." Alex was already fed up and she said sarcastically, "Don't worry about it, even if you got sick, Ed won't be at school today." Haley was confused. "Huh? What do you mean? He only took the day off to fly to New York, right?" Alex rolled her eyes and said, "Don't you remember what Pepper told him yesterday? He needs to finish the music video with Taylor as soon as possible. He didn't actually say that he's not going to go, but it was just logical." Haley was surprised, and then was irritated by Alex's smug demeanor. "Was just logical? What are you trying to be? Yoda? Hey! It's Mr. Spock, and you know it," Alex shouted angrily while pointing her finger to Haley. Then, she smirked and said, "It's understandable." It's not like after you found out that Edward likes the Star Wars films you had watched it over and over to study about them, right? Mom! Haley was embarrassed and called out to her mother quickly to help her defend herself. Claire smiled and said softly, Haley, go easy on your sister. She has a fever today. I'm the one who should go easy on her. Haley said, aggrieved. Gee, Mom, no wonder Dad left. For a day. Claire exclaimed defensively. Haley turned around and asked, where's Dad anyway? Outside of the house, Luke and Phil concocted a scheme together. Phil held the camera while Luke wrapped some clothes on his right hand. Luke looked at the sky and shouted, come here, Bertie. Come here. I got some worms for you. Luke. I don't think that they will perch on your arm, buddy. Phil said with some slight disappointment. Why not? Ed did it. Luke asked. Well, first of all, Edward was in a pretty high place. I guess, up there, the birds are more tired, so they will come down more. That makes sense. Luke said. He looked at his arm and muttered, I wonder if they will come down if my arms look more like a tree branch. Only one way to find out. Phil said excitedly. But we will have to wait until you come home from school. Okay? Luke grinned and nodded, okay. Suddenly, the house doorbell rang. Claire hurriedly opened the door and greeted Gloria, who came together with Manny. Hola, Claire, Gloria said with a toothy smile. She was wearing a low cleavage top as usual, and she entered the Dunphys' house without reservation. Claire said, thanks a lot, Gloria, for doing this. Alex is a little sick, so I need to stay home and couldn't get the kids to school. Nonsense. We are all family. We help each other. Gloria said with a fake smile. Gloria's commentary. I want a free trip to New York to see the live interview too. Gloria said in annoyance. But Edward only invited Claire's family. Manny's commentary. Well, Edward asked if Mom or Jay wanted to come with me too, but Mom promised me she would watch me practice, and she also said she's not going to miss it for the world, so I didn't tell her that to prevent her from getting a dilemma. Jay didn't want to go because he wanted to play golf with his friends. He made me promise that he won't tell my mother about it. Commentary ends. Phil and Luke rejoined the family after they decided to shelve their project for a while. Then, Phil lights up when he sees Gloria. Hey! What brings you guys here early in the morning? Phil said as he greeted Gloria. Oh. We're helping Claire take Luke and Haley to school. Gloria replied in a gleeful manner. You know. Just doing a family member some favors. Huh? Phil was confused. He turned to Claire and asked, Claire, I can send them to school. You don't have to bother Gloria with it. Gloria widened her eyes anxiously and she said, no. Not at all. She didn't bother me at all. Phil then saw Alex and hugged his daughter sympathetically. Oh honey. I noticed that you were feeling unwell when we were flying home, so I have already gotten you some medicine and some soup this morning. Ah. Thanks, Dad. Alex said while hugging her father tightly. Claire's eyes twitched and she said, but, Alex, I will stay home today to take care of you, even when I have a lot of work to do. Hun. If you have a lot of work to do, you can go. I have no open houses today, so I'm pretty free. Phil said, causing Claire to freeze. She asked in a low voice, but you have that house near Bridgeton Avenue to sell. Phil smiled innocently and said excitedly, the buyer already put down the down payment this morning. I don't even have to show him the house. He saw my video where I went to New York, and he's Edward's giant fan. I just told him that Ed had considered to buy that house too, and he couldn't wait to sign the contract. Alex stayed by Phil's side and said, Mom. I don't want to burden you, so Dad could just stay home with me today. I know that you have a lot of work to do. Both of Claire's eyes twitched at this moment as her plans had backfired. So, I guess I can send Haley and Luke to school? She muttered. Phil nodded, not catching the hidden anger behind Claire's tone. Sure, hun. he said. Claire was fuming, but she still kept a poker face. Come on, kids, she called. Gloria saw Haley and asked, Haley, did you get taller? Huh? I did? Haley was confused. She stood in front of Gloria while her step-grandmother compared their height. You did, Gloria said excitedly. Then, her vision lowered and she said, even your boobs got bigger too. Gloria. Haley was caught off guard. Claire was speechless and said in a pitiful manner, you got taller? And I didn't notice it? But I was always the one to notice it. Haley chuckled and said, well, Mom, you used to be around a lot. Her words were like an arrow shot straight to Claire's heart. Gloria noticed it and decided to lend Claire some help. Well, see, Claire, didn't you say that you will go to the mall today? Why don't you take Haley with you after school? She will need help to buy some new outfits. Haley agreed with Gloria and said, Mom, you don't have to, I just need some money, and I will go there with Tara Dash. No. We're spending some time together at the mall after you got back home from school, and we're going to have some good old-fashioned mother and daughter bonding moment. Now, let's go. Or you'll be late to school. Gloria's eyes lit up and she said, we can go together and talk more in the car. Your minivan has a big space. Inside the car, Claire was dumping some of her worries to Gloria after they had sent their kids to school. I don't know. I really don't know what to do to bond with the kids, Claire said. Gloria was still ruminating about the earlier information she had gotten. Well, didn't you say that Ed wants to make dinner for you guys today? Claire dismissed that topic immediately. Yeah. But it's not happening. Really? Did he tell you that it's not happening? Gloria said. Maybe. If he cannot do it, because he has a very busy schedule, we can cook for him instead. Claire scrunched her face and she asked in confusion, how is that going to help me bond with my children? Well, for starters, they love him more than they love you right now. Gloria was brutally honest, and it made Claire want to cry. But if you did that for him, then Edward will like you, and the rest of the kids will think that you're so cool because you managed to get Edward to like you. Claire's expression changed a few times. Then, she nodded as if thinking that wasn't a bad suggestion. Despite the tour, I see what you're trying to say. All right. I got it. We're surprising Edward today. Claire's commentary. I got to say, I felt a little guilty of trying to use Gloria this morning. But now, I am very glad that I called her. Gloria's commentary. Yes. I got a chance. The next name for the VIP seat for Edward's interview will be mine. Commentary ends. Chapter 190. Messy Schedule, 2. Edward POV. In the dim-lighted basement lab. I still have some time, I muttered, even though I knew that I had a lot of work to do today. I turned on my modified laptop and continued my work on the AI. It was something to do while I waited for the staff members to get the location ready for today's shooting. The mishaps this morning gave me a little bit of urgency to complete my AI programs. I need a secretary that could keep track of all of my schemes and plans so that I wouldn't have to cancel my nefarious plots after this. I thought inwardly. Suddenly, my phone chimed in while I was engrossed with entering the codes. Damn it! I cursed as I read it. It was a text from Taylor saying that she's going to be late because her makeup team was late. I turned my attention to the codes once I texted her back. Finally! I celebrated as I entered the last lines of the codes and compiled everything I had written. 2 months of work was finally finished, however I knew that I had only built the foundation of the AI. The progress bar moved very slowly. It didn't even get to 1% even after 5 minutes. My enthusiasm slowly died down as I saw the unmoving progress bar. What the hell was I hoping for? I muttered with a sigh before leaving the lab. Unbeknownst to me, the progress bar suddenly sped up after I left the room. We drove to Beverly Hills where the side-by-side house film set was located. The set house was built inside a huge film studio, and I have rented the entire set since last week. I turned to Taylor, who had just arrived, and blatantly stared at her face. She smiled coquettishly as she saw me. Then, she became confused when she saw that I was studying her face. "There's no more pimple," she shouted in anger and dissatisfaction after she realized what I was looking for. I shrugged and smirked at the same time. "By the way, hello there," I greeted as I moved towards her. She scoffed and crossed her arms together as she pouted. "You're angry at me because you got pimples?" I asked with fake confusion. She was baffled and said, "Huh? No. Anyway, I don't have any pimples, so stop talking about it." I had to stifle my laugh because I knew that she was going to get annoyed if I mentioned the matter again. "You're ready?" I asked with a seductive tone, "Miss Creative Director?" She grinned and said, "Absolutely." For the music video, I gave her the chance to create the storyline on her own. It took her a week to come out with the storyline. I was surprised when I realized that it was the exact same setting compared to the music video in my previous world. A nerdy, timid, glasses-wearing but secretly pretty, next-door neighbor girl who has a crush on the athletic jock boy in the house next door. Then, there was a villain cheerleader girl who was using the kind jock boys to make her ex-boyfriend jealous. Both the female lead will be played by Taylor, and I would play the male lead, obviously. It wasn't that I wanted to get the role myself, but she proposed that I do it to save some money. "We're going to shoot the bedroom scenes first, so get ready," I told her. She smirked and whispered, "Wait. I have never agreed on using cameras in the bedroom. If you want it, you should have told me first." I snorted and then at my ear, showing her my earpiece. "I'm the director, so I had to wear this to communicate. So, everyone else here has heard that." Taylor was frozen, and then she looked around to see some staff smirking and giggling. Her face blushed red and she said hurriedly, "Oh, of course I know that. That was a joke. Just a joke," she yelled into my ear. I winced in pain before saying, "You don't have to defend yourself yet. I haven't turned it on." She froze again and then blood rushed to her face. "Jerkward," she cursed before she stomped away. I chuckled at her before sitting at the director's seat. Taylor returned to the set while wearing a white t-shirt with signatures on them. Her hair was tied in a short ponytail and she wore big glasses. "Hot set. Interior," one of the staff members yelled as Taylor got ready. The code signifies that the set was ready for filming from all aspects. The set bedroom has green walls, a white framed single bed in the middle that was placed in between 3 windows covered with purple drapes, a butterfly painting on the top of the bed, and a study desk at the right side. The closet in the mirror had not been revealed yet, but her bedroom exuded a pleasant and minimalistic ambience, a stark contrast to her actual bedroom she grew up in. I turned to Taylor and smirked. "Hey! Don't stand on tilt," I said abruptly. She was confused. "Why?" "'Cause it made your shirt's word look like Junior Jew. I teased. Taylor checked her shirt with the word Junior Jewels written on it and chortled. We started with recording her dorky dance inside the bedroom, and while we were filming, I had to shout cut a few times. "Cut. Stop looking at the camera," I said with a laugh. She circled her hands together while dancing weirdly and said, "I shouldn't look at the camera while doing this?" "You shouldn't look at the camera at all," I said while covering my smile behind my hand. She grinned and teased, "Really? I thought that you wanted me to record it like this?" She kept dancing and I kept chuckling, causing the filming to be delayed. When we started again, I finally realized that I lacked the time to prepare for my evening plans and whispered, "Damn it." A normal guy would have just cancelled his plans. But I refused to be normal. I whispered to the staff responsible for the logistics, "For the last scene, do we have enough people in venue yet? If we don't, then, I can contact my school and ask my teammates to help out." General POV. Dunphy's house. Claire returned home bringing Gloria with her to prepare for tonight's dinner. As she returned, she saw Alex and Phil sitting in front of the TV in the living room. Confused, Claire asked, "Alex, why aren't you resting?" Alex replied with a weak voice, I'm watching a documentary with Dad." "Documentary about what?" Claire asked again. Phil slowly turned towards his wife and said, "Birds." Claire decided to let go of the matter after hesitating for a while. Phil then asked, "Why aren't you at work?" "Oh, I decided to take a day off anyway," Claire said. Gloria giggled and added, "We're going to make food for Edward's dinner party for him." Phil was excited to hear that. But then Alex poured some cold water onto their enthusiasm. "Edward is really controlling, so he won't accept it if someone tries to mess with his recipes." "Do you guys even talk to him about this?" Gloria brushed the matter off easily. "Don't worry, Alex. I'll just find his recipes at his house." Alex chuckled and said sarcastically, "Yeah. Maybe it's in a password-protected file in his laptop." "Mom, I'm going to sleep." Claire walked towards Alex, hugged her and kissed her forehead. "Okay, honey. Feel better. Mommy loves you." Usually, Alex would cringe whenever her mother said this, but as she was ill, it was comforting for her to hear that. After Alex left, Claire hesitated and turned to Gloria. "Should we really do it?" "You heard Alex?" Gloria was hesitating too. "She's right. I guess we should call him first." Phil said hurriedly, "Don't call him. He's on the film set. Just text him." Claire and Gloria nodded before Claire sent a message to Edward. Less than a minute later, Edward texted back. "What did he say?" Gloria asked in excitement. Claire read the text and smiled. "He said it'll be a great help. We should do it. Also, he's going to enter the set next, so he's not going to be able to reply for a while." "Oh great," Gloria said before pausing for a while. "Does he really have recipes on his laptop?" "I'm not sure," Phil said with a confused expression. Edward POV. Taylor wore a black hoodie, put on some dark eyeliners and some light blushes on her cheek as she did her first costume change. Before she walked on set, she said to me with a deadpan voice and emotionless face, "Edward, I don't know, do you want to go behind school, and I can show you my tattoos? We can smoke some grass." I snorted and teased her. "Really? That's your impression of an emo girl?" She smirked and continued, "Then, we can go on raves inside a tunnel, drinking each other's blood? Cut some lamb and summon Satan?" I guffawed at the impression and gave her a thumbs up. Then, she said something troubling. "Should I dye my hair black and tie it in a twin tail style?" I gave her a stink eye and said, "To do that, you need some bigger assets in your chest department." She backhand slapped my arm in protest and said, "So, you only love them big, right?" "Well, for me. Boobs are boobs," I said convincingly while grabbing her shoulders. "Damn, Emo Taylor is feisty. Go on, I still have a dinner party after this." She frowned and said, "You're going to get rid of me after filming? We are not going to hang out?" I furrowed my eyebrows and said, "You don't remember it, do you? I have already asked you to come before." She widened her eyes and said guiltily, "Oh. You did? I'm sorry. I will make sure to come." Then, she ran to the set quickly to continue filming. I breathed in relief after that. Luckily, she didn't realize it. I thought. Well, it wasn't that I had forgotten to invite her, but in my earlier plans, the two events were held in separate days, so I had no motives to invite her. After a while, Taylor did another outfit change where she wore a yellow hoodie and tied her hair up. She stood lazily and said to me, "Edward, say something." "Huh?" I was confused. Then, she burst into fake laughter and said, "Ha! You're so funny." I couldn't keep my poker face and laughed out loud after that. She pretended to be a pick-me girl for a while, and it made me burst into laughter every time. She smirked as she saw me wiping my teary eyes. "You love jokes like this, huh?" I stifled my laugh and said teasingly, "Oh. Not at all. But when I thought that you, who are making an entire music video about why the other guy should pick you, and making fun of the same type of girls right now, I can't hold back my laughter. She froze and her face contorted from the realization. Her chin quivered and she shouted, "I did what?" The entire staff members turned towards us as they heard her shriek. I was puzzled as I saw her reaction and said, "Huh? Hey, I was just joking dash. It's true." Taylor grimaced in realization, it's the truth. Damn it. Won't this just make me seem desperate? I don't want to do this anymore. She then huffed away in anger. The filming stopped abruptly, and all the gazes were stuck on me after Taylor left. Damn me and my mouth. I cursed at myself. Take 10 everyone. I announced to the staff members before chasing after Taylor. General POV. Mitch and Cam's house. Come on, Lily. Come on, Lily. Cam encouraged Lily as she practiced her tiny steps. He sat on the couch, waiting for her to inch towards him with a huge smile on his face. Mitchell walked behind Cam and Lily before melting at the scene. I hate going to work and missing all of this. Cam turned to Mitch and said, "You know what? If you just took the job at Entertain, then the work hours are more flexible. And I told you, I can't work under that woman. I will go crazy." Mitch retorted. "Cam, will you still volunteer at high school today?" Cam nodded knowingly, "Give you updates about the whole pregnancy thing as soon as possible." "Got it. Thank you. Love you," Mitch said before rushing out of the house. A few hours after that, Cam received a phone call from Gloria asking him if he wanted to join in for Edward's dinner party. Cam was confused and said, "But he's having his team party today?" Gloria was also puzzled and turned to Claire to get an answer. While they were trying to figure things out, Phil used his permission to enter Edward's lab to take a peek at his laptop, trying to find Edward's recipes. He was confused when he saw the pattern on the screen. It was a kaleidoscopic pattern with the objects merging and moving all over inside a circle at the center of the screen. Ed didn't turn off his computer? Phil asked himself. Suddenly, he heard a female robotic voice, "Hello." Phil almost jumped from the chair from fright. "What the dash?" he muttered nervously. "Hello?" he asked in confusion. "Hello." The voice replied again. Phil smiled and said politely, "Are you a friend of Edward?" "I am his assistant." The voice replied. Phil breathed in relief and asked, "What's your name?" "I don't have a name yet." The voice replied. Phil thought he was joking and said, "So, I will just call you Ratatata." Confirmed. Selected name is Ratatata. The voice replied. "What can I help you with today?" Phil smiled in excitement and asked, "Does Edward keep his recipes in the laptop?" The voice replied, "No." "Ah!" Phil exclaimed in disappointment. "He loves Italian food, but none of us can cook it except for Jay." "But he's working. I don't even know his preferences." The voice then replied, "Based on his internet search with Italian food-related keywords, there are a few Italian dishes that he likes." Phil lit up and said, "Really? Can you tell me? I'll print out the details for you." The voice said. The printer next to the laptop started printing out a couple of recipes. Phil grinned and waited patiently for the printer to finish, and then took the stack of recipes with him. "Thank you so much, Mr. Assistant. Now I know why Edward hired you." Phil complimented sincerely. "He didn't hire me." The voice replied. Phil was confused and muttered to himself, "Free labor? I am glad to be of service." The voice replied again with a slightly excited inflection. Phil hesitated and then turned his back against the laptop. "Okay, I'll go now." The voice didn't reply. Phil was confused and then walked out of the room quietly. Phil's commentary. "I wonder who that guy was. He sure knows his stuff," he said, "and I never caught his real name." Commentary ends. Edward POV. "I'm so embarrassed," Taylor said while cupping her face with her hands, Her head dropped to the ground as she sat on her waiting room chair. I walked to the room and sat right next to her. I'm sorry for saying that. No. It wasn't your fault at all. Taylor shook her head and released her hands. I was so excited to finally decide on the music video that I forgot to think about that. You don't have to worry. Seriously. The plot is great. I can assure you that people are going to like it no matter what. But when they know I was the one who did that, they will make fun of me for sure. Then, we can hire some obscure director to pretend he was the one who came out with the plot and all. Or, I can do it. She finally chuckled a bit and said teasingly, "Oh really? You're going to direct a chick flick?" I shrugged and said, "Why not? I think I'll be good at it." She rolled her eyes and became anxious again. Can we, still change the setting? Or is it too late? I mean, I really don't want to seem desperate. I was confused as to why she did this but decided not to ask. All right then. We can change it. In fact, there's several ways to change it so that you won't seem bad. How so? She asked with intrigue. First, double down. Make it seem like a comedy, I said as I stood up from my seat. Then, I unbuttoned my shirt and made some exaggerated movements. She cringed immediately and shouted, "Stop! What are you doing?" Like I said. Double down. We can insert a scene where you were giggling on the bed, and then it cuts to your imagination where I was looking like this and entered your room. Like Romeo. Her eyes lit up and then she giggled. I added, I can mouth sentences like, "Taylor, you're the only one for me." And then pick you up from your bed while you were wearing a see-through nightgown. She chortled loudly and said, like a parody. Exactly. I snapped my finger before pointing at her. What's the other way? She asked. Well, some other way is to show more of the male lead doing the same thing as you did. The scene where I looked at the window and laughed as I saw you dancing dorkily, took that and made a few more of those. It's all about the long looks and stolen glances. Taylor's eyes lit up and she snapped her fingers. Ah. That will work. That wraps up this part of What If Karmic Gacha system in Modern Family World. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.